Good morning, children. This is Sujit sir, and in today's class, we shall discuss how voice change takes place in complex sentences. Now, before that, let us understand clearly what we exactly mean by a complex sentence. My dear students, a complex sentence is the combination of one independent clause and one dependent clause. So students, when a main clause is combined with a subclause, we call the sentence to be a complex sentence. Here we find one of the clauses to be independent in nature, that is, it is complete in meaning and doesn't seem to be depending upon any other clause or any other part of the sentence. And on the other hand, there will be a clause which will always depend upon another clause to make itself complete in meaning. Therefore, students, here one of the clauses will appear to be stronger than the other. Let us understand more with the help of some examples. Now, my dear students, look at the first example here. We know that he is present. Now here, the first part of the sentence or the first clause, that is we know, seems to be independent in nature. It is complete in itself. But the second part of the sentence, that is that he is present, seems to be depending upon the first clause, that is we know. Simply speaking, if we remove the part we know from the entire sentence, then that he is present will not be able to express itself completely. It will appear as if another part should come to make it complete. So here, students, the part that he is present completely depends upon the part we know. So we can say we know is here the independent clause and that he is present is the dependent clause or the subordinate clause. So my dear students, the combination of such two clauses is called a complex sentence. Similarly, in the second one, he will not come is the independent clause or the main clause, followed by because he is ill, that is the subclause or the dependent clause. And in the third one, if you read, seems to be depending upon you will learn. So students, if you read, here is the dependent clause and you will learn is the main clause or the independent clause. So students, this is the basic structure of a complex sentence. Now, in case of voice change, what do we exactly do? We have to remember that we should transform both the clauses separately into passive voice, or we can say that in changing the voice of complex sentences, the voice of both the main clause and the subclause should be changed. In some cases, the introductory it may also be sometimes used. Let us see an example. Look at the sentence in the active voice. I know that he has seen them. Now students, it is very clear to us that here I know is the independent clause or the main clause, followed by that he has seen them, which is the dependent clause or the subordinate clause. Now students, we have to change both the parts here. Now, as we all know that the subordinating conjunction used here is that. So on the left hand side of it, we have one part, I know, and on the right hand side of it, we have he has seen them, and we have to transform both the parts. Look at the answer here. Now, first of all, I know is in simple present tense, and according to the rule, we use one of the be verbs whichever is applicable with the subject. So either am or is or are followed by the past participle form of the verb. Now students, we have no object here. I mean to say that the subject is here I, the verb is know, and thereafter we don't have any object. And generally there will be no object, of course, because from there the dependent clause begins. So what we can do? We have to use an introductory it. So we have to assume that it is there, which we have to take as the subject. Therefore, it is known to me because it will always be is after it, and thereafter we have used the third form of the verb, that is known. And as we have discussed earlier, the preposition which we have to use after known is to and not by. So it is known to me. So we have already transformed the part of the independent clause. Then the subordinating conjunction has to be placed, which is that, and thereafter, like the first part, we have to transform the second part into passive. And here the dependent clause is in present perfect tense, where he is the subject, has seen is the verbal portion, and them is the object. Therefore, we all know that them will become they, and thereafter, according to the formula, it will either be have or has followed by been, and thereafter will come the third form of the verb. So with they, we have to use have. So they have followed by been. So they have been, and the third form is already given in the active voice. We all know that the three forms are see, saw, and seen. So we have placed seen after it, and finally will come the agent or whatever is there in the subject. So we have he in the subject, which has become by him in the agent or used as an object. So my dear students, here we have understood very clearly that if we are asked to transform a complex sentence from active voice to passive voice, we have to keep in mind that both the clauses will be changed as we find here. So here we have come to an end of this discussion. See you all in the next class. Thank you so much.